The way that you trust me, 'cause nobody ever loved me like you do. I love to see it from a point of view. Nobody trust me, the way that you trust me. Oh, 'cause nobody ever loved me like you do. I love to see it. Ooh. Hello, hello, hello. All right. Happy Tuesday, everybody from the UK. It is wet in the Shire today. Let me know if you can see me and if you can hear me, because yesterday we had a little bit of a wee glitch in the matrix there. So just yeah, let me know if you can hear me, let me know if you can see me, and let me know. What is the weather saying where you are? That's a terribly British question. Because we're always whinging about what we do have, right? But yeah, it was very, very like I woke up this morning and was like, oh, I don't know if I can go out for my walk today. I couldn't possibly. So welcome to Radiant Reality. My name is Raphael. I am an astrologer, tarot reader, numerologist, and energy worker. So astrology, tarot, numerology, and energy work, those are my core four. That is my bag. Those are the things. You weren't actually supposed to hear me singing, so I apologize for that. I didn't actually realize I was live at that point. I was still transferring things over. So, for those of you that don't know, I use tropical whole sign Western astrology whenever I'm talking about astrology, as you will see when we pull up the chart. Today is Mars moves. This is all about actionable energies for the week ahead, right? Starting from today, because Tuesday, as we say here in the UK, if you're a little bit common like myself, Tuesday, not Tuesday. Um, Tuesday is Mars Day, right? So that's why we look at Mars. And if you haven't caught it yet, if you're watching this after the fact, for those of you that are here, you'll be getting this information now. But for those of you that are watching this after the fact, if you haven't noticed already, the day that I'm going live, Monday through Friday, right, or the Wednesdays, I've been bringing you different content at the moment because I've had a store of things that I want to share with you. But there will be Wednesday content coming that's specific. Moon Day is all about the moon. Tuesday is all about Mars. Wednesday is all going to be about Mercury. Thursday is all about Jupiter. And Friday is all about Venus. There is a reason for this. There's a whole ecosystem. So for those of you that are new to, for those of you that are new to the way that I'm doing things now, obviously I've got the memberships for the weeklies, and the weekly tarot is still there. So if you want to get that, you can sign up to become a member. But as I said, I'm bringing you other new content that is just as important, just as exciting, and more importantly, it's stuff that you can use on a practical level, right? I had a lady just leave me a comment on yesterday's video on the Moon Day Magic. And she said, I was really upset when you stopped doing the weeklies because it switched up the routine. She said, but now that I've seen this, I actually realize that this is just as valuable. And it's like, yes, this is what I was trying to tell people from the offset. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just switching the way that I do things. Remember, I need to keep this. I talked about this just recently. I did an interview yesterday on the Lunar Pumpkin channel here on here on YouTube. So if you haven't seen her, check her out. She's a fellow student of mine, and she's a wonderful soul. And in that, one of the things that I talked about was, as whatever we do in life, it needs to be just as fun and exciting, as fresh and vibrant for us as the creator as it does for you guys, right? If you're just churning out the same stuff over and over, I'm an Aquarius, right? I'm an Aquarius sun. I need to keep it fresh. I need to do different things. I need to experiment. I need to grow and change. And yes, I've got a lot of cardinal energy. And yes, I've got a lot of fixed energy in my chart. So, I'm sitting here talking about change. I love a degree of familiarity. I'm not going to say that I don't, but I do need to keep it moving. I need to keep it evolving because otherwise it's just going to dim and I'm not going to be bringing you guys the same energy that I can, right? And it's a good thing to be talking about energy right now because this is Mars Day, right? So, if you are watching this after the fact, if you haven't seen, any of the new stuff and you're just catching this, if you're one of my golden oldies or you're a newbie, just know that Monday through Friday, we go live at around noon-ish here in the UK time. And we talk about a different thing each day and how you can use that as part of your own lifescape. There's a monthly numerology video that I'm putting out now. If for any of you that are here right now, in the comments, just put any sort of random number. If you have watched the October numerology video and you got some sort of use from it or some kind of heads up, drop me any random number in the comments right now. All right. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, Jan Wallace. Lovely to have you. Laurel Berg, my Aquarian sister. What's up? What's up? What's up? Debbie Moore, Heidi. Hey, hey, hey. Lovely to see you. Um, Jane Denkert. Am I saying that right? Dan Dankert. I hope I'm saying that. I hope I'm not butchering your name. I apologize if I am. Cooler than yesterday, breezy. Love it. Don't I love it? No apologies necessary. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Aquarius Diva, sending so much love to everyone. Love, love, love you, Boo Boo Kitty. I love you, Aquarius Diva. Right back. Asleep by Nine, one of my amazing members says, I'm loving this new content. Just still have to learn about astrology so I understand it better. Yeah, okay, great. So awesome. Look, yeah, these people that are dropping all of these random numbers in the comments right now, that monthly numerology overview, right? It's up, it's out there. Watch it, share it with your fellow friends, work out your life path number, work out your friend and your partners and your maybe even some of your your challengers. Work out their life paths and see how you can use this information to your advantage. Felicity, it was Felicity that left me a wonderful comment, and she said, I was worried about when you switched it up and you changed it, but actually, I'm really enjoying this new content, and that makes my heart sing. Because it's like I told you, I was going to bring you new stuff, and by keeping it fresh and funky and different and all that good stuff for me as well, it means that I can serve you guys that much better. Paul Gritzemecher, hello, my brother. Good to have you. I hope you're okay. Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, so we are here to talk about Mars. Mars moves. So this is about actionable energies for the week ahead, where we track Mars, we look at this, we're going to see what it's doing, and we tap into that energy, right? So there is an interesting week ahead. It's always an interesting week, right? Because the stars and the sky are always moving, so there's that aspect of it. But more importantly, we are a part of it. We're participating in it, right? Now, that being said, Mars is still in Cancer at this point. We've still got a little ways to go before it dips into Leo, right? And unfortunately, it's going to retrograde right back out of Leo. It only gets to like 6 degrees of Leo, and then it hits the brakes stations and comes retrograde. But for this week, Mars is still in the sign of Cancer, and we're starting to get a good understanding of what this energy means for us. How it's showing up for us is really going to be deeply personal, especially because, as we know by now, the Cancerian part of your chart is deeply personal. It's very sensitive. It's the space of your chart where you need, a bit an air of traditional, where you need caring and feeling and nurturing and nourishing, where you need feeding and looking after, right? And Mars is completely at odds with that nature. Mars is the soldier, the warrior, right? Mars is brash. It's the surgeon's scalpel. It's the sword. It's the soldier. It's the general, right? When you speak to squaddies, and here in the UK we call them squaddies. Like the boot soldiers, the ones that are on the ground on the front line. We call them squaddies here. I don't know if you call them the same where you are in the world. But Mars is all of those things, and when you speak to them, they tell you, like, yeah, sometimes you have to use a rock for a pillow, right? Cancer, that's like we need to make sure we've got duck down feathers and, a nice warm plush bed with plenty to eat. And they're like, yeah, sometimes you go without a meal for X amount of time and you'll sleep in the cold and you use a rock for a pillow. Mars and Cancer are very opposite natures, which is why Mars is in its fall in the sign of Cancer, right? Now, interestingly enough, Mars is in its exaltation when it's in the sign of Capricorn, right? So it makes sense that if it exalts in Capricorn, then when it's across the sky in the opposite sign of Cancer, yeah, it kind of doesn't do so well. And because their natures are so at odds, the only time really that Mars and Cancer can really find a way to cross over in their powers, if you like, would be in defense of the family, right? So Cancer is a very protective and a very defensive energy, usually over the family. It's just like Leo with their children, right? Or their ideas, right? If you don't have any children, Leo with their children, their babies or their ideas, Cancer with the family in general. If you want to see ferocious, if you want to see ferocity, try to harm a Cancer's family. Good luck with that. Sun, moon, or ascendant. I tell you, you'll see a sign of Cancer that you weren't even sure, that you didn't even know existed. Mama or Papa Bear will come out clean and it is dangerous. So if you add Mars to that energy, you imagine right now, I feel sorry for anybody that goes after the family or the loved ones of a Cancerian person, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, because once they channel that Mars into protecting or defending their own, you are the F word, right? I'm just going to say that. That's probably the only crossover. Mars is an attack energy, Cancer is a defense energy, but the crossover would be like where they channel that energy and say, right, you tried to harm my family or you tried to hurt my house where I live. Remember, the home is the extension of the Cancerian person. So, oh yes, worked with a Cancer, she is fierce. They really are. Like people overlook them because they're like, oh, they're just emotional Cancer, emotional Cancerian crybabies. And it's like, yeah, there's another side to Cancer. I mean, there's another side to all signs, really, to be fair. So, anyway. So, what I'm talking about with this Mars transit, well, certainly this first pass of Mars, now it's passed through the 17th degree of Cancer. This first pass of Mars is really kind of highlighting, certainly at this moment in time as we speak, as of like 2, 3 days ago, Mars hit 17 degrees of Cancer. As we're talking today, it's at 18. But the reason these days are important to pay attention to is because we're going to be revisiting this when Mars retrogrades out of Leo and back into the sign of Cancer. It's going to come all the way back to 17 degrees. So whatever is happening for you at this moment in time, you'll be revisiting it and working through those trends and themes over the course of between now and April of 2025, right? So it's a pretty big deal. Now, that being said, get at me in the comments with some of these flames. I want to see some of these flames. Let me see it roll through my comments. Tracy Lynn, hello, lovely. Lovely to have you. I'm a Kendrick. Lovely to have you. The Taurus Garden. Hello, hello, hello. Um, Laurel says Mars in Aquarius. Okay, that's Mars in Aquarius. I kind of like Mars in Aquarius because, like, you know what? I'll use my wiles and my words to best you. Absolutely love starting my day with all of you. Thank you so much. Hey, asleep by nine, Laurelberg. That's it. Let me see these flames roll through my comments. Mondai, lovely to have you. Hey, hey, hey. All right. Nice, nice, nice. All of that fire for Mars, baby. Yeah, good, 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 good. All right, okay. So I am going to share the chart, and you guys can just tell me if you can see this. Um, mm, mm, mm. Where are we? Here we go. So you should be able to see the chart. And I'll put this here just to make sure. So I set it to London. So obviously just ignore the house placements, because we're kind of looking at this as a flat chart almost. All right. So it's just for really the planetary positions rather than the house position. All right. So I like to set these to midday. Just so that it's a bit more clear cut and a bit more universal. So as we start today, you can see Mars, the man himself that we're here talking about, is at 18 degrees of Cancer. Now, as you can see, he's in a perfect trine today with his celestial lover, Venus, right? So I really like that. That's been an energy that's been in the background for the last week and a half-ish. It's starting to separate now because, as you can see, Saturn is at 13 degrees of Pisces. So it is, at this point, that grand water trine that I went on and on and on about ad nauseum, right, is now starting to break away, right? So we're seeing like it's dissipating the energy of that grand water trine. But we will have all done something or initiated or moved towards something while it was active and present, which means that we had the emotional strength to get started with something and then see it through to the completion because we had the Saturnian energy in the background, right? Now, that being said, Mars is currently in a T square with both Chiron in Aries and the Sun, or should I say Mercury and the Sun, to be fair. But Mercury at this moment in time, and the Sun as applying, and you're going to see this as the week sort of starts to unfold. So as of today, Mars in that T square is really getting us to talk about what we feel, to have those hard conversations. So I've been mentioning that for a while now. And remember, whenever we see a T square, so what I'm looking at here is, can you see the kind of I think they call it an isosceles triangle, but don't hold me to that. But can you see this red line here between Chiron and Mars, and this red line here between Mars and Mercury? If you can, right, what you can see here is that's set to equal. We want whole sign, please. We want whole sign, please. There we go. What you can see is those lines are making up a triangle, right? Aries is a cardinal sign, right? It's cardinal fire. Cancer is a cardinal sign. This is another overlap between Mars and Cancer. Mars is a cardinal energy. And then on top of that, Libra is the cardinal air sign, right? So cardinal energies have a specific quality, and that quality is they just drive forward. They initiate something new. They set something into motion and they follow that path forward, right? The energy of a cardinal sign is really about starting something. It's about beginning something afresh, moving forward in a really powerful, really dynamic way. It's a burst of energy that has a very clear cut or singular energy, right? It goes in a specific direction and it seeks out that forward momentum. Now, because this is a T square, this is what we call a cardinal T square, right? Under the fact that we now have a waxing moon, right? So the moon is starting to grow, the moon is starting to gather light, strength, and speed towards being full. So whatever this cardinal T square is setting up for us at this moment in time, it has an energy of something being initiated out into the world, right? And the reason I'm highlighting the moon here is because the moon is growing. So if the moon was waning, right, if this was the moon getting smaller, we could probably say that this was setting us up to release something. However, in this regard, it's probably us initiating something. Because it's Mars and Mercury in that T square, I wouldn't be surprised if this is initiating Mars energy, a conversation, Mercury energy, right? And potentially one that sees us having to have a conversation that really sees us looking at what the equal give and take is and how we feel about that situation in general, right? Cancer, the feelings, the give and take is the Libra energy. Now, on the opposite side of this, Mercury opposing Chiron, this is us speaking up, Mercury in the sign of Libra, opposing Chiron in Aries, speaking up, Mercury, about our wound and what it has cost us to be ourselves, Chiron in Aries, right? Now, that Chiron in Aries, which is square to Mars, this is us really acknowledging something maybe to do with the family, maybe to do with some aspect of ourselves, some sensitivity that we might have, and then having to find a way to either verbalize that or act on it. Now, what's really interesting to me about this T square, once Mercury starts to move, look what happens. No, not that one. That's minutes. We want days, Rafi. We want days, right? So watch what happens. As we come into Wednesday, Mars moves into 19, so we get the first sort of real break from that grand water trine, okay? But don't panic because there's going to be, as one disappears, another one comes in to take its place because of Neptune. That being said, right, so now the sun moves into the orb because it's at 16 degrees, Mars is at 19, so there's only a 3-degree orb. So now we start to get this T square between Mars, the sun, and Chiron, right? And this is going to perfect over the week. And what this really says to me, because the sun is about authority figures in our lives, it's also about our soul, it's about where our attention really is at this moment in time. This really feels to me like there's potentially some kind of self authority or self sovereignty that is challenged. And it's like through our feelings, we have to really sort of speak up and be honest about it. And as if that wasn't enough, what happens on the 9th of October? I don't know if anybody's spotted it, but this guy, the big guy, Jupiter, finally begins its retrograde, right? So we now step into, I mean, truthfully speaking, we're already in retrograde city. Look, you've got Pluto retrograde, you've got Saturn retrograde, Neptune retrograde, Chiron retrograde, Uranus retrograde, and now Jupiter, right? If you are at this moment in time, let's say that there's something that you have started or something that you've wanted to start, but it just feels like an uphill battle. Get at me with a little rock or a mountain emoji in the comments. Are you feeling that? Does it feel like it's one step forward, three steps back? And it's like you're making progress, but you feel like it's really, really slow, bloody progress. It's like, you know what? I thought I was making progress, but it doesn't feel like it. And then when you look back, you're like, oh, actually, I have moved forward, but it's just really, really bloody slowly. Anyone else feeling that? Get at me in the comments with a rock or a mountain emoji if you're feeling that kind of energy. And while you do, I'm going to have a little sip of my tea. Mm. I have fennel tea today. I have fennel tea every day. I love fennel tea. Yeah, right, Laurel Berg, Heidi Reichel. Yeah, absolutely. It does feel like that, right? It feels like the literal essence of delayed gratification. And that is the retrograde energy really in full force or full swing. Now, that being said, watch Mars as it moves forward, but also keep your eye on the sun. Now, as we come into Wednesday and Thursday, look what happens, right? Thursday, we hit the first quarter square of the moon. So this is going to be an energy of, it'll be an energy of tension, to be fair, right? And then on top of that, the moon is going to oppose that Mars. So not only are we in the fields because Mars is in Cancer, but at the same time, we're now having the moon opposing that Mars, right? And what this kind of says to me, because the moon is the ruler of that Mars, and what's really interesting is Mars exalts in Capricorn. So even though it's an opposition, right, which is a challenging energy, and it's actually interestingly enough, an opposition is the nature of an opposition is that of Saturn, right? There's an impasse. You can't get past this, you just have to go through it. That moon opposing the Mars, it really does give me a feeling like not only that quarter square crisis energy in the background, but it really does give me a feeling that some kind of authority figure in our lives gives us a bit of a reality check to say, yes, you might feel this way about this, but actually it's not done yet. And so you have to approach this, right? You have to find a way to work through it. Now, Interestingly enough, it's only a short transit, so most of the time astrologers wouldn't even count this because the moon moves so fast. But if you think about it, right, as the moon moves from 13 right through to, let's say, 21 of Capricorn, she's setting up that opposition, which means that the sun in the sign of Libra is really the way out of that tension. So on Thursday, the quarter square of the moon, if you feel a bit more fractious than usual and you feel a bit sort of like, you know what, I'm starting to get really frustrated, or even potentially feeling the impatience starting to really creep in, the sun in that position is going to be your way out, right? So on Thursday, get at me in the comments. What house does Libra fall in your chart? I'm intrigued to hear some of where this is going to happen for you, and there's a reason I'm asking this. Hmm. Tracy says four. Okay. So you as a sovereign being in your home and within your family, Tracy. That's what Thursday is really like. The way that you get through and past that discomfort is by claiming your space and your home and really understanding this is my home, this is my space, and within my familial heritage, this is how I present myself, right? Um, the Taurus garden, house four, so you as well. Yellow jazz, the first house, right? So you are the way through and you have to claim your own sovereignty, right? This is about really sort of putting yourself and your own ideas and thoughts. This is really about being fair with yourself more than anything else. Like lots of thoughts here around this. Asleep by Nine says Libra is my sixth house. So your physical health and vitality. If on Thursday, asleep by nine, you feel like really fractious and you feel like the red mist rising, go for a run. If you're not a runner, go for a walk. If you're not a walker, go to the gym. Do something physical to get yourself out of that feeling, right? One of the easiest ways for us to take command of a situation when we feel like we have no control is by doing some kind of exercise, because you can control your own body regardless. All right. So just to give you an idea, that's going to be the way through. Now, as we move forward, right, Mars comes into 20 comes to 20 degrees of and this is on Friday, comes to 20 degrees of Cancer. And as you can see now, the sun is at 18. And then as we move towards, I think it's Sunday or Monday, right? So as of Monday, look what happens. Mars is at 21. The Sun is at 21 of of Libra, sorry, and Chiron is at 21 of Aries. So can you see now how that T square, that cardinal T square between Mars, the Sun, and Chiron has perfected, right? That's when it's going to be exact. And I think Monday has the potential to be a bit of an intense day. Now, that being said, look at what's happening with Daddy Jupe, right? It's sextile to Chiron. Jupiter represents healing. It represents protection. It represents higher ups, dignitaries. It represents helpful people. It's meaning and philosophy. And so while that T square is perfected, and it might feel a little bit more intense than it has all week, Jupiter playing really nicely with that Chiron, bringing an opportunity for healing, right? It's a sextile. A sextile is a harmonious aspect, but it doesn't just give you the thing. It provides the opportunity for you to have the thing. Chiron is the wounded healer. Jupiter represents healing, medicine, and meaning. So there's a chance for us, Jupiter in Gemini, to really talk it out or open up a dialogue that brings some kind of healing to us, to ourselves, some kind of core wound around who we are and what it's cost us to be ourselves. And Mars is providing the action and the bravery and the daring to follow this path. Jupiter provides the opportunity for that healing, and then Jupiter is in a trine to the Sun. Jupiter is retrograde. in that trine to the sun. The sun is authority figures, fathers, usually like masculine figures, bosses, all of that kind of stuff in the sign of Libra. So potentially, although that T square is in, is really prominent in the background of this, that Jupiter in a really nice tight trine to the sun means that our leaders, our bosses, our fathers, in some way, shape, or form, could be giving us some kind of grace, right? And there's a chance, if we are willing to take it, to open up the dialogue, right? To really open up the dialogue, that opportunity to do some kind of really deep healing is possible. Right, so I love this. To be fair, I'm not saying that it's not got its own intensity. Now, as if that wasn't enough, Amanda B, thank you so much for signing up to be a member, lovely. I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate you. Stay tuned because there's going to be some amazing stuff to come. Also in the background of this, do you remember I said to you, while we lose the Mars, Saturn, Venus grand trine, we'll get another one that's replaced. So Mars will be at 21 of Cancer, Venus will be at 25 of Scorpio, and Neptune is at 27 of Pisces. So, and what's really interesting about this is 27 of Pisces, where Neptune is, and Neptune is an amplifying or a magnifying energy. Um, as well as, it can be distortion and all the rest of it. But I've found, like, when you think of Marilyn Monroe, look at what Neptune did for her. Neptune was on her ascendant. It magnified all that she was, right? And put a soft sheen on it. The reason I mention this is because 27 degrees is Venus's, 27 degrees of Pisces is Venus's most exalted degree. So the fact that she's in a trine to Neptune at her favorite degree in the entire zodiac, I think is really important. I think it gives us a way through, right? And a grand water trine between Neptune, which has been said to be the higher octave of Venus, in the sign of Pisces, is giving us a chance to transcend through some kind of understanding that there is a spiritual reason or idea behind this. In a trine to Mars in the sign of Cancer, Mars in Cancer, I think it's like providing us the bravery to cry when we need to cry. Yeah, like as a person, as a young person, I was so emotional. Like I would cry at basically anything because I was a really sensitive kid. So many chances missed. Indigo child, empath, born to a family that just did not get it, right? So there's that. And so as a teenager, I moved into a space and a sphere where I just wouldn't cry. Like I just stopped. I literally flat out refused right the way through until about 23. And then obviously it all caught up with me, and I had a very long trail of tears after that, right the way through to about 26, 27. And since then, now I'm sort of a lot more in control of it all because I'm aware of all of who I am and my sensitivities. But yeah, I think that Mars in Cancer is giving us the bravery, Mars, to cry, Cancer, the bravery, Mars, to feel, Cancer, right? And in that trine to Venus, his celestial lover. Sorry, I just like saying that way. Right, in that trine to Venus in Mars's own sign of Scorpio, this is giving us another grand water trine, but it's a chance really to overcome. So Monday in all of this, although that T square, that cardinal T square perfects, Mars is really the way through, right? Like Mars is really the way through that, the ability to accept how you feel and to just be really, really resolute, to feel what you feel, to cry if you need to let it out, to feel what you feel, and also to defend yourself, to defend your home, to defend your values, right? Because Cancer is a sign of values. It most certainly is. It's the sign of the family, right? Okay. Enough with the heavy. Let's get into some cards. I mean, it wasn't heavy, but you know what I mean. So, I'm going to bless my deck of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity, and abundance. And I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise, and they help us all on our paths to our highest vibrational good. So I'm going to give these a shuffle. I want you guys to take a breath, and when you're ready, I want you to say when or stop. Either works. I'll never forget. So in the early days, I used to do parties, so tarot parties. So basically, I would show up with my decks and stop. Okay, thank you very much, Laurel. I would show up and I would do my readings, and I'll never forget. This lady was like, "Oh, go on, go on." She basically shoved her husband into the chair and was like, "Go on, he needs the reading him." So I was there shuffling the cards, and I was like, "Just say when." And I was like, so I shuffled, I clapped them, I did what I needed to do, and then I handed them to him, and I said to him, shuffle, and then when you're ready, just say when. And I don't think he heard the last bit because about 3 minutes later, he was still going, and I was like, is that enough? We both laughed about it so much, like we were just both cracked up. But yeah, okay. So the first card, this is really, it's really about how we use. It's like our best area of focus, right? So it's how we can really shape our energy, how we can use this, right, and find a way to move forward. And for this, we've got the Lovers card. The base message of the Lovers card is about choice, right? So the message behind this, the best area of focus this week, aside from, and I'm going to talk about love and relationship in a moment, but the best area of focus for our energy this week is to make a choice. Once you make a decision, everything around you, right? And it's been said that once you make a decision and you move in a certain direction, the universe will literally rearrange everything to bring you the thing that you set on your path towards. I genuinely believe that because I've seen amazing things happen. But all the time that you haven't made a choice, everything just exists in a soup. And that's what you're going to get, right? You're going to get a little bit of everything and you're going to be, you're going to float around and you're not going to be sure and all the rest of it. So the message behind this, your best area of focus this week is to make a choice, make a decision, right? Once you make that choice, once you make that decision, you will literally see everything start to back you. Once you see, like, once you've made that choice, you will be able to see things start to move, start to shift, start to not even go in your favor, but they will just get easier, right? Once you've made a choice and you start moving towards it, everything around you comes in, it sets into motion to support that choice. I genuinely believe that in my gut, right? In my heart, actually, which this isn't my gut. Although they say, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Gifts of food, always welcome. All right. So the second card, area to watch out for. All right. And we've got the Ten of Cups. Now, this is really interesting because this is actually a really beautiful card, right? So two things that I want to say to you. The first is be careful about the rose-tinted glasses this week. Watch out for convincing yourself that something is actually fine when it isn't, right? This is about being really honest with yourself about what is and what is not working, what is and what is not doing what it says on the tin, right? It kind of reminds me, that little meme, like with the dog, and he's sitting there and everything's on fire and he's just sipping his cup of tea, like, everything's fine, this is fine. And it's like, is it though? Okay, so there's that part of it, but the other part of this is, and this is very interesting given where Mars is at this moment in time, right? I've talked about how Cancer represents the family and can represent familial ties and energies. It's very likely that the area to watch out for this week is going to be within your family, right? Keep an eye out. Now, if as soon as I said that to you, a family member popped into your mind, a situation that's kind of been brewing, but not really too much that you need to keep an eye on it, etc. If something like that popped into your mind, or you had like a little intuitive flash, that's going to potentially be a problem as that T square starts to perfect this week. Keep an eye on it. All right, that's going to be something that you do need to watch out for. So I just want you to be really, really clear. Like if you just, when you heard me say that, you're like, okay, something in my family. Right. So Heidi, now that you know that, now that you've got that inkling, what are you going to do? What are you going to put in place? Can you send her a little message and say, hey, darling, hope you're okay. Just wanted you to know that, like, if you ever need anything, I'm here. What you've done is created a bridge and you've dissipated any of that hard energy before it comes up, right? If you can see something brewing between two family members, intervene sooner rather than later, right? And it's not always our duty to fix other people's stuff, but hopefully I'm making sense here, right? Mars is about action. It's about decisive action. It's about making a choice and stepping towards it, right? There you go. You've reached out. Fantastic. All right, brilliant, 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 brilliant. So for the third card, outcome of diligent action. We've got that Eight of Wands, right? So do you remember that Jupiter energy in the background that I talked about setting up opportunities? There's potentially, right, if we follow some of these paths and we use this energy wisely and we make choices and we head towards them, what we get in the Eight of Wands is conversations that we're invited to that actually open up really amazing opportunities and dialogues. What we also get is information flowing backwards and forwards. What we can do with information is use it to make valuable decisions and choices. And also, there's a chance that if you follow these lines, that there's a chance that you might learn something this week that really sets you ahead on your own path. All right. So really, it's about opening up those lines of communication and being really clear on, what potentially has a draw on our attention in some way. Okay, so I'm going to give these a shuffle once more, and for the signs, I'm going to go through the elements of the signs again. Take a breath and just tell me when to stop. All right. Oh, Liliana, such a beautiful name. I absolutely love that. It reminds me of I've got a niece, and her name is Eliana, which just princess. Oh, when? Okay, sorry. All right. So for the fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, you got the Hermit card, right? So one of the best uses of your action this week is to take some time out, to take some downtime, and more importantly, use nature. Right, use nature to your advantage. Yeah, I understand. Obviously, it's raining and all the rest of it, so there's that aspect. But one thing that I will say to you, if you're a fire sign, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, use this week ahead to really go within. This is about making that choice. The Lover's card talked about us making a very decisive, clear-cut choice and then going into your cocoon, right? Do you know what's so crazy? So, as all of you know, many of you know anyway, I am a Leo ascendant. And for the last week, every morning that I kid you not, right? Every morning that I've gone out on my walk for the last week, I've seen at least one, and I mean at least one, sometimes more, caterpillar. Right. So this, if you're a fire sign, this week is the week that you enter into the chrysalis, but you don't enter that chrysalis until you've made the choice. Right. Make a choice, be really clear on that decision. And then once you've made it, you go ghost so that you can start working on it and towards it. All right. You have something big that's shaping up for you, and now you've got to do the work to create it. For the air signs, Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra, you have the Nine of Pentacles, right? So isn't that interesting? Because The Hermit card is Virgo. The Nine of Pentacles is Venus in Virgo. And as many of you know, I'm an Aquarius, Aquarius sun anyway. So the fact that you've got the Nine of Pentacles as the air signs, Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra, your message for this week is to have the embodied experience, to be completely present in this moment in time so that you can feel not only your body, but you can understand the beauty and the just lushness of the life that you have. Be present in a state of presence, be present in a state of gratitude, and more importantly, get into understanding and knowing that by placing attention on yourself, you automatically make yourself worthy. All right. I don't know who needed to hear that, but that worthy part I know is going to resonate with someone. For the water signs, Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio, you have the Five of Swords, right? It kind of makes sense if you look at it, right? Mars is in the sign of Cancer, so there is that sort of kind of friction energy. But what this tells me more than anything else is there is a chance for you to have a heated discussion. There is a chance for you to speak up. There is a chance for you to say what needs to be said. And yet, there is also a chance for you to not compromise who you are for the sake of getting your point across. Okay, this is sometimes just knowing what you could say is enough. Yeah, let me run that by you again. Sometimes knowing what you could say, right? Just knowing what you could say is enough. And sometimes you can remind somebody of that with a look, right? So if you're a water sign, this week is going to feel a little tense, maybe. It's going to feel a little bit terse, especially as that water trine between Mars, Saturn, and Venus breaks, and then the other one starts to come in with Neptune, right? Watch out for misunderstandings as well for those of you that are water signs. Right, Laurel? Listen, there are times, mate, I'm telling you, right, when it's just like, you know what? Just knowing what you could say might drop on that. For the earth signs, Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo, you have the Nine of Swords. Okay, so this week, if you are an earth sign, it's very possible that you're going to try to get in your head about all of this. And that's not, not to tell you what to do. Remember, your mind has a very specific function, and that is to magnify anything that it focuses on, right? And so, what this kind of says to me, when it comes to, yeah, okay, you're it's kind of like, when you see something that you're afraid of, like if it's a spider, because you don't like them, you see it as bigger than it is. And then once you put the glass on it and you look at it close up, you're like, oh, actually, it's not that big, right? That's what your mind is naturally meant for. That's what it does. And so this week, you're going to try to hype something up. Take a breath, step back from it, and look at it objectively. Now, what's really interesting to me is that this is the third nine. We've got the Hermit card, that's the number nine. We've got the Nine of Pentacles, that's the number nine. We've got the Nine of Swords for the Earth signs, Taurus, Capricorn, Virgo. So your mind is going to try to tell you something, and it may very well be the thing that stops you from moving forward. So if you're an Earth sign, what you need to know, because this is the third nine, three nines represent success, right? So you can have your success, or you can have your oh, it's this, and oh, it doesn't look like that, and it's not exactly what I wanted it to be. And you can have all of that, or you can have the success. Which one do you want? Because you can't have both. Don't make a mountain out of a molehill. Taurus Garden, thank you so much for reading my mind. That is literally the phrase that I wanted to say. I just couldn't think of it. Not for Taurus, we've got to clear out that throat chakra. Listen, honey. Be out here, baby. Oh. Sip my tea on that one. All right, okay. So Mika says my Cancer Sun, Libra Ascendant, Pisces Moon, concrete on me speaking up, but tempering my vicious tongue is the advice. I love that. Yeah, 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 absolutely. So, thus concludes for the Mars moves. Now that you know, I love you too, Amanda. Thank you so much. So, now that you've got a clearer idea on how you can use this week's Martian energy and how it's likely to shape up for all of us in some way, shape, or form, keep it savvy, right? Make your decisions. Take the messages that were there for your big three, your sun, moon, and rising, right? So for me, the nine, the Hermit card, the Nine of Pentacles, and the Five of Swords is relevant because I've got a Cancer moon. So I'm going to sit with those cards and really think about how they'll apply for me. And I know how I'm going to go around because I've got a feeling I know where that Five of Swords is coming from. So I'm like, okay, fine. Right, you just got to deal with it. But the reason I'm doing these like this, I want us to be able to. One of my Astro parents, Frank Clifford, who is going to be coming back soon, I'll let you know. So if you're watching this, then you guys will know, but for anybody else, but we're going to be getting Frank back very soon. He always invites us to take part in the transit. Don't just sit back and wait for it to happen to you in anticipation, saying, oh, this is going to happen and it's going to be awful, right? We get proactive. If you're a part of the Radiant Nation, you know my motto. We love the woo woo, but we keep our feet on the ground. So, how are we going to use this in a really practical way? Okay. With that said, I wish you all an abundance of all of that good stuff. Have a fantastic excuse me, have a fantastic day. Go out there and be who you're destined to be. If you are a continued subby, Rafi loves you. Please don't forget to like, share, and if you should so choose and it resonates, hit the subscribe button. If you would be so generous and so kind, share this with somebody that you think might get something out of it. I would appreciate it immensely. Have a wonderful week ahead. Take care, and I will see you tomorrow.